Hey guys, it's Harry the Red Bagnall Engine here, and welcome back to another review video. Now, I apologise that this one has taken quite a while, which I will explain later on in the video. But anyway, what show are we going to be reviewing today? Today, we will be doing a review on 64 Zoo Lane. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting with...
Sleep tight, Lucy!
64 Zoo Lane is a children's animated television series that first started airing on February the 18th of 1999 and aired its final episode on February 28th of 2013. Man, that's a pretty long runtime. In 2001, 2 years after the show first came out, 64 Zoo Lane returned with a second season. Although after this season, the show would go on a hiatus for around 7 years or so, and it wouldn't be until 2010 that the show would return with a third season. Now, the reason that the show went on a hiatus for a long period of time was because of financial issues, which is why in seasons 3 and 4, the show would change to a slightly different animation style, going from the original cell animation to Adobe Flash animation. And honestly, if you compare the two styles side by side, there's not really that much of a difference. In October of 2012, 2 years after season 3 released, the show would return with a fourth season, although sadly season 4 would end up being the last season of the show, and it wrapped up in 2013. Although it is still nice to see that the Sky Kids channel still airs the show to this day, even if new episodes did stop production like well over 10 years ago at this point. But nice to see that the show is still recognised. And I think that is more or less it for production history. Yeah, like the Ben and Holly one and Ivor the Engine too, there isn't that much production history on 64 Zoo Lane. But hey, the bits of information that I did find were pretty interesting. The fact that the show had a 7-year hiatus because of financial issues, that honestly is pretty interesting. But now that we've talked about production history, it is now time to move on to the next topic, which is...
They've all gone to sleep.
Like a lot of shows, 64 Zoo Lane does have a lot of characters. Some of these characters range from Lucy herself, who is the show's main character, Nelson the elephant, Georgina the giraffe, Molly the hippo, Giggles and Tickles the monkey, Snowbert the polar bear. Yeah, the list does go on. I would name all the characters, but we'd be here all day. Now, when I'm watching a show, I always tend to find a character that I feel really stands out, basically meaning is my personal favourite character, and maybe usually a character that I don't like. But first, I'll choose with one character that I really do like. And if I had to pick a character that was my personal favourite, I would maybe have to go with Nelson the elephant. Why exactly have I gone with him? Well, it's a bit of a daft reason, but I've kind of gone with Nelson the elephant as my favourite, simply because he kind of gives me CGI Skarloey vibes. I don't know, there's just something about his voice that gives me Skarloey vibes. Probably because Nelson is voiced by Keith Wickham, but I don't know, that's just me. Now, if I could maybe choose one or two characters that I don't like, I may have to go with... Now, I know this is going to sound like a pretty strange choice, but I would maybe have to go with Giggles and Tickles the monkeys. Now, why exactly have I gone with them two? Well, there have been certain episodes where the two of them have just been straight up jerks. Now, I get it. They're monkeys. They're meant to be like that. That's the way the two of them are written. But my goodness, there are some episodes where the two of them are just absolute jerks, and sometimes it does annoy me. Although I do like that they do often learn their lessons. So that's something, I guess. But yeah, Giggles and Tickles, not my two personal favourites. But that's just my opinion. Okay, so now that we have covered characters, and I've talked about a character that I like and one or two that I don't like, we will now move on to the final topic of this video, which is... La, 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 la. So, just like with the Ben and Holly and Ivor the Engine review, I will once again be talking about the things that I like and don't like about the show, and favourite and least favourite episode parts in just one big section. So, without further ado, I think I will first talk about one thing that I like about the show and one thing that I don't like about the show. So I will start off with one thing that I like. One thing that I really love about 64 Zoo Lane would have to be the theme song. I'm sorry, but the theme song to this show is so catchy. Seriously, it's so catchy, and a lot of the time I sometimes find myself singing it to myself. Yeah, I know. If you guys haven't listened to the theme song for this show, I would suggest taking a listen to it, because it's really catchy. Unfortunately, I'm not going to play it on here because of copyright reasons. Now, normally when I'm watching a show, I do tend to find one or two things that I don't like. But I have to be honest, I don't really have any negatives with 64 Zoo Lane. Now, that might sound like a shocker. If there's nothing I don't like about the show, then why have I said that I would talk about one thing I don't like about the show? Well, I don't know. That's just me. But 64 Zoo Lane is probably one of the only shows that I don't see anything negative about. But that's just me. So now that I have talked about one thing that I like about the show, and, well, the thing that I guess I don't really like about the show, I'm now going to talk about one episode that I really like, and maybe one episode that I don't like. If I could choose an episode that I think is my all-time personal favourite, I would probably have to say the story of Hector's birthday party. Basically, in this episode, Lucy heads down to the zoo, like she does in every episode, and when she gets there, she tells the animals that it is somebody's birthday, but the animals don't know whose birthday it is. Lucy tells them that it's her birthday, but the animals have somehow forgotten it was Lucy's birthday. That is until Giggles and Tickles get out balloons and put a party hat on Lucy, revealing that the animals knew it was her birthday, but they were just teasing her. Honestly, that's something I kind of like, because I've seen that done at birthdays in real life, and it's kind of a good way for people to say that they haven't forgotten about your birthday, and really they have something planned all along. That's just me. Now, in terms of a least favourite episode, I'm going to be completely honest. 64 Zoo Lane might be the only show that I have watched where I do not find a single bad episode. Yeah, I know. Even I'm kind of lost. Normally, every show I watch has a very bad episode, but honestly, I just couldn't find one with 64 Zoo Lane. So, even though I literally said I would talk about my least favourite episode, honestly, I just don't have one. So, I guess me saying I didn't have a favourite episode turned out to be pointless, huh? So now that I have talked about one thing that I liked and didn't like about the show, and a favourite and a very possible least favourite episode, I think that's more or less it. Yeah, 64 Zoo Lane is a show I don't really have that much to say, but I honestly still enjoyed making this video nonetheless, and that's the point of making any type of video. You don't do it for views, you must do it as part of the fun. But anyway guys, just before I sign off, I have just one thing to say. I apologise if this video feels a little bit rushed. This review has kind of been a nightmare to do, because getting footage for it was kind of really not that easy. I'm not going to explain why, because, well, it's just something I don't feel I need to explain. But I would like to give a shout out to my good friend Wario VHS and DVD for finding the right footage to use. So, Wario VHS and DVD, if you're watching this, thanks for your help in finding the footage to use. And as well, guys, just before I sign off, apologies about any stuttering in this video too. I do have a little bit of an issue where I sometimes stutter when I don't mean to. So you'll have to excuse that, I'm afraid, guys. But that's more or less everything I want to talk about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So this is Harry the Red Bagnall Engine, signing off. Peace out, y'all, and see you next time.